Welcome once again, everybody, to another episode of B&B Hockey Talk. I'm your host, Aaron Bloxel, with my co-host, Mr. Matt Balzer. Well, Matt, the NHL Board of Governors meeting has been going on since Monday. Some interesting potential things that they're looking at tweaking or changing in the future or trying out at some sort of levels. But first and foremost, I know all 30 GMs out of the 31 are kind of upset that Vegas is going to be exempt from the Seattle expansion. Maybe comment on that and then comment on some of the other ones that you saw that they discussed.
Yeah. So with the Vegas Golden Knights already being an expansion team the past couple of years, they will not be in the expansion draft, which means all their players are protected. So that means like other teams that have a plethora of players that they don't want to lose. It's been brought up like if the closer we get to the expansion draft, if teams could make deals with Vegas to sort of be like, all right, we'll trade you this player, and then after the draft, we'll make a deal to get him back just so they know they can get that player back. But Bill Daly came out and said like they'll be closely monitoring any trades leading up to the expansion draft. But I also saw like a Pierre LeBrun in a story on that. Like he brought up like say if like the Nashville Predators like last expansion draft they protected 4 defensemen. Let's say they only want to do 3 this time, and PK Subban would be the odd man out. Say like if they would want to trade him to Vegas for like a prospect and something like that, so that way that player wouldn't be on the expansion draft or qualify for the expansion draft. Would the NHL allow something like that, or would they want like a superstar or a big name like PK Subban go to Seattle? So that's something interesting to keep an eye on. But and then also like the big thing with the GMs arguing, Bill Daly brought up like Vegas isn't going to get any of the expansion money that Seattle's getting. So that'd be like another that's like one of the big reasons why Vegas won't be participating in the expansion draft.
Well, they might even have a better team than some of the other teams out there that have to protect. But it'll be interesting to see. I mean, if we were today to look at the rosters and see what type of team Seattle could possibly get, I mean, it'd be pretty disgusting. It'd be a pretty sick roster, and it might be, definitely following in Vegas' footsteps. But, of course, leading up to the expansion draft, there'll probably be a bunch of trades or, again, potential deals with Seattle to take certain players. It'll be interesting to see if they can cash in like Vegas did with guys like Marshall Show and Riley Smith and William Karlsson and stuff like that, right? So other things they talked about, stuff like sucker punches, overtime rules and stuff like that, maybe getting rid of the shootout and just continuing 3-on-3, even clocks in the corners of the arena. What are your thoughts on all those things, and what were the ones that they talked about that stood out for you?
Yeah, well, with the sucker punches, like we've seen it a couple of times. Like we had the Max Domi sucker punch on Aaron Ekblad in the preseason. Tom Wilson had a pretty good one this season as well. Like they're really starting to crack down on all the fighting and stuff like that. So that's just another like player safety sort of thing that you'd want them to get better at. The clocks in the corners I would really like as well, especially like with teams like if they're on the penalty kill or a power play. It's a lot, or as a period winds down, it's a lot easier to look into the corner than having to turn your head and look up at the Jumbotron, which has all the lights and everything going on it, and try to identify how much time there's left. It'd be a lot easier to look in the corners and just be like, okay, we got this much amount of time, and then you can quickly make your decision off that, which I really liked. Also, they might be implementing the IIHF helmet rule. Like if you lose your helmet, you have to go directly to the bench, which I think that would just be like another good player safety.
Kind of like what Guillaume Brisebois did in that one game for the Canucks this year.
Yeah. Apparently, like in the AHL or something, apparently they have that, I believe. So, yeah, I remember seeing that, which is pretty funny.
By the way, on a side note, I remember that happened to Troy Stetcher once, and his hair was, like, so perfect in place. And he was skating around, and his hair wasn't even moving. And I was like, how much product do you have to have in your hair for it to not move after the hockey helmet comes off, right?
Well, it'd be like Henrik Lundqvist with the Rangers. It's just like he could face like 40 something shots or whatever, and he'll take that helmet off, and his hair is still perfectly in place.
Man, I'd be worried about the sweat bringing that product down into my eyes, right? So,
but yeah, actually, a cool thing on a side note about Henrik Lundqvist's hair, like the Spin Chicklets just had him on an interview from the All-Star weekend, and he said he actually only pays $22 for his haircuts. He just goes to like some old guy in New York, so he actually doesn't even pay that much to get the haircut. And there's just a side note there, but getting back to the GM stuff. Also, like a power play face-off choice for the team going on a power play, in which circle they would want the face-off being taken. Which I think that'd just be like another good thing to bring in. But overall, there's nothing like huge or whatever going to change. But and getting back to the overtime shootout stuff, I wouldn't mind like a 10-minute 3-on-3 period, just because like the percentages should work out that the game should end in overtime at 3-on-3 if you're going for 10 minutes. And then if you want to do the shootout after, then sure. But yeah, it's like you want less and less games decided by the shootout, but you don't want ties either. But yeah, if you do a longer 3-on-3 overtime, I'd be down for that.
what if you were a general manager? What rules would you like to see implemented? I'm going to put you on the spot here, but is there anything that comes to mind for you? Like for me, I mean, I really think that the consistency of the reffing's gone down already this year. There's a lot of games lately where there's maybe no penalties being called at all, and yet the ticky-tack stuff still happening in the hands that they don't seem to call all the time. And then there's other games where they call all of that, and you're getting 6-7 power plays a night. I mean, that's been a big thing in the NHL since the early 90s. Would it be possible, like, for one of the things I think I'd like to see to help scoring is to see a player that gets a 2-minute penalty to serve the full 2 minutes, even if the other team scores a goal. You could all of a sudden you get one penalty and a good power play could score 2 or 3 times on you.
Yeah, that would be interesting, but I don't know. That'd be tough for me to see. It's just like, especially if it's like a double minor or whatever, it's like a 4-minute penalty and stuff. It's just like that's close to 3/4 of a period where a team has like a power play and stuff. And especially if there's like a bunch of penalties being called each way or whatever, and then you get less and less guys off the ice. Like that would be my concern, because then it'd be like 4-on-4 or 3-on-3 or stuff for a longer time. But that is interesting. My biggest thing as being a goalie, I'd like just to see some more consistency on the goalie interference reviews, and even the offside reviews. Like sometimes, like we see like a player's like just like a centimeter or like an inch.
I'd like to see them treat the offside like breaking the plane in the NFL, right?
Yeah. It's like I'd like to see like just a little bit more leniency there. Just because it's just like the big thing it was brought in was because of like the Matt Duchene, where he's like already like in the offensive zone and clearly offside, and it was missed. Like that was more what it was brought in for. But like when you start getting like really ticky tack with this, just like, oh, he was just barely like a skate blade or like half a skate blade offside or whatever. That's where I start to pick at it. And then the goalie interference stuff is just like, it's like it'll never be perfect, but just more consistency on like, because there's like some stuff where everybody will look at it and it's like, that's goalie interference, and then they'll still call it a goal, or it's like, oh, that doesn't look like goalie interference, and then it is goalie interference. It's for stuff like that.
On that point is like the kicking motion, non-kicking motion. Then like, I don't know what is a kicking motion anymore, because half the goals that go in off guys' skates, it's a clear kicking motion. They're just not bringing their skate up off the ice.
Yeah, because it's just like, well, you can direct it in or whatever, but if there's kicking motion, then it's not a goal sort of thing. But yeah, it's stuff like that where it'll never be perfect, but you'd always like to see improvements in those areas.
Is there anything else that you want to touch on from the board of directors meeting there?
No, I think that just about sums it up. But yeah, the thing is, the GMs are pretty happy where the game is at, and it's just more just little things where they'll try to improve the game.
Yeah, it'd be nice once Seattle is in the NHL to see the balanced schedule, and of course, us in Vancouver, we get to see a rival finally, a
Mm-hmm.
potential future rival with the Seattle, whatever they're going to be called. So, lots of milestones again hit this in the last few days. Why don't you catch us up to speed on all of those?
All right, yeah. So the big two here, Sidney Crosby picked up his 1,200th career point. He had a 3-point night against the Florida Panthers last night, including a beauty flip pass to spring Jake Gensel on a breakaway for the breakaway overtime winner. Just crazy. 1,202 career points in just 927 games. Just an absolute beast. I still think he's the best player in the world right now. Just behind or just ahead of Connor McDavid, but just a great career mark there. Barry Trotz picked up his 800th career win as a head coach. Only Ken Hitchcock, John Quinville, and Scotty Bowman have more career wins than he does, and only two of those guys are still current coaches in the NHL. Or as John Quinville, he did get fired this year, so I should say one of those guys is the current NHL coach right now.
He might be the Ottawa new coach.
I know, yeah. Well, man, I don't know who would want to go to Ottawa right now, but hey, Gary Bettman came out today and said he's not concerned about Melnick or anything happening in Ottawa.
Maybe Mike Keenan will get hired.
Oh, man. Oh, also, we had Matt Cullen. He played in his 1,500th career game. Crazy note here: he has 728 career points in his career in those amount of games, but he's never had a season of 50 or more points. So to get over 700 points without ever getting 50 points in a season, it's pretty crazy. Chris Chelios, the only other American-born player to play over 1,500 games. Of course, Chelios had 1,651 games, and I'm not sure if he's still playing or if he's still.
He's still riding his bike in the sauna, right?
Yeah. Also, Nikita Kucherov picked up his 108th point of the season, just 67 games. He matched Vincent Lecavalier's mark of most points in a season. Lecavalier gained 108 points in 82 games in 06-07. Yeah, and Kucherov, he's still got about like 15 more games to go to add on to that. Just an absolute beast, especially like Tampa Bay. That game was actually pretty good as they faced the Winnipeg Jets last night. Just absolute dismantling of the Jets too. But I think the crazy thing in that game was Connor Hellebuck took a Kucherov one-timer squarely off between the eyes, and he had to leave for a few minutes just because I think he was bleeding a bit there. Just a crazy hard shot. Wouldn't want to be on the other side of that one.
No.
Also, the other big one, Carey Price picked up his 314th career win, tying Jacques Plante for most career wins in Habs history. So big eyes coming up on in these next coming days where he'll try to pass Plante, become the franchise leader in wins. And on a former Canucks note, Ryan Kessler played in his 1,000th career game. I know he's basically a shell of himself from where he was here in Vancouver and the first couple of years in Anaheim. But as much as I hate how he left, he was still a heck of a player, especially when he played for the Canucks. He's known for just always giving everything he can out on the ice. Especially in that 2011 run, that Nashville series. Like we'll always remember that series against Nashville where he was like a one-man show and everything was going in the net for him. He was dominating defensively. One of the best two-way centers when he was at the top of his game. And I saw on an interview that he had on Sportsnet 650 today, he actually credits like a big Matt Sundin and Pavel Demitra, I think, as two guys that were big veteran presences that really helped him get to that next level in the NHL.
Those were his two wingers, I think, in a couple of years before the Canucks hit their stride there. And it's funny because when the Canucks bring in guys like, they brought in Trevor Linden even, I think, at that time.
Mm.
They bring in those veteran guys, and people seem to be all up in arms when they bring in veteran guys now, like a Beagle.
Mm.
I think it's great. I think a lot of guys look back, and those are players that really make a difference in their lives because of, they see what it takes to play in the NHL. It really opens their eyes as young guys. So, we've been lucky here in Vancouver that a lot of the guys got to see the Sedins in their final season and learn from two of the very best. A few injuries around the NHL you want to update us with, and then we're going to probably wrap up and end today's show.
So with the Boston Bruins, Marcus Johansson, he took a really hard hit from Michael Furlan last night. Found out that he has a lung contusion off that hit, so he'll be reevaluated in a week's time. Johansson just recently acquired at the trade deadline by the Boston Bruins there. Just updates on Erik Karlsson and Jake Gardiner. Both teams updated their statuses. Gardner's still week to week with a back injury, and Erik Karlsson and that nagging groin injury looks like that will continue as well. If I was San Jose, I'd just continue to rest him and make sure he's healthy for the playoffs. Also, a couple of guys returning. Jason Demers with Arizona Coyotes, believed at first to be done for the season. He returned to the lineup last night, and they're supposed to be getting Michael Grabner back as well in the lineup either tomorrow or on Saturday. So some reinforcements.
Nasty eye injury for Michael Grabner.
Oh, just yeah. That was one nasty high stick, especially that picture after. It's just like, But yeah, some of their veterans are finally coming back, and with the way Arizona's still hanging around in that playoff picture, you never know which way they're going to go. Even though I still don't think they're a playoff team. Just the players they've traded away or whatever. I'm still amazed that they're even in this playoff race. And on a Canucks note, Brandon Sutter, done for the season, had sports hernia surgery, and that's a 6 to 8 week recovery. As his, I think he's basically missed about like half the games in his.
I don't think he's even played in half the games since he's been with the Canucks. So
yeah, he's only
they're definitely a better team when he does play. You see a huge difference in the way the team plays when he's healthy, but when he is healthy, it's only a few games away until he gets hurt. He's him and Tanev and Edler seem to be the story of the Canucks injuries.
And we'll be touching more on that on Friday, because I know I had like my Canuck report that I brought out last week, just sort of highlighting how injury prone and how many games Edler, Tanev, and Sutter have missed over like the past 4 seasons. Excuse me, but otherwise, going into tonight, we have the Toronto Maple Leafs are in town here taking on the Canucks. We'll see if the Canucks can put a couple of goals and help march them out a little bit. I think Pettersson will be really motivated tonight, because he was really disappointed when the Canucks were in Toronto on that road trip earlier this year, and he was hurt. He was really disappointed that he wasn't able to play against Matthews and all those top players there in Toronto. So hopefully it's a big night. And then the Canucks have a weird schedule. Like they play Toronto today, and then they fly to Edmonton to play there tomorrow night, and then they're back home on Saturday for a long homestand after that. So it's a weird road trip, 1-game road trip.
It's pretty normal. I mean, we used to see it more, I think, back in the Smythe Division days. But anyways, remember to like and subscribe, whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook. And, of course, comment below this very video. Let us know what you think. Let us, engage with us. Talk to us about your favorite team and if they're going to be in the playoffs or not. And, of course, we're always open to talk anything hockey. So thanks again for all your support, and we will be back, like Matt said, on Friday for our regular Friday Vancouver Canucks edition. Hope you guys have a great evening, and we'll see you all soon.